There we go. Excellent. Hello. Welcome. I am so glad you are with me today. Thank you for making time to be with me for the next 30 to 45 minutes as we talk about iridology. Before, again, just as we're doing this, love to know where you're from. We've got Deshawn with us from Southern California. Hello, Deshawn. Thank you for being with us today. Garwood's mom. Hey, hello. Haven't seen you in a while. Glad that you're with me today. Thank you so much. Those of you who are joining me on Facebook, again, I love it if you just tell me hello and let me know where you're from. And also those of you who are with me on the webinar live. Excellent. So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. Oh, can I do this? I don't know how to do that for my Instagram followers. Sorry, guys. What I'm going to do here is I am going to actually turn off screen share for just a moment. I wanted to do that. We're going to turn on the camera. There we go. Okay. So I wanted to introduce myself today and do it a little bit differently than I usually do, because usually I do it off camera. But I wanted to take a moment to share with you why I got into holistic healing and what has eventually led me into all the things that I do now. I've been in the holistic health business for over 4 decades, and I got into holistic healing because I had some health problems as a young adult. The doctors seemed to be quite unable to pinpoint what was going on and to help me understand what I could do about it. It wasn't anything major or life-threatening, but it was uncomfortable and it was changing the quality of my life in a way that I didn't like as, again, a young adult. So interesting that, you know, opportunities happen and doors open at the right time. That's when I met a young man who knew a little bit about herbs, a little bit about iridology, a little bit about reflexology, a little bit about iridology, a little bit about a lot of things that were holistic. And he started teaching me what he knew. And he was cute. He was downright handsome. He had a great body. He was a very physical guy, and so he had really good musculature, and he was funny, and he was sweet, and he was sensitive, and he was smart, and he was everything I wanted. So we fell in love and we got married. And I took what he started me with and I ran with it. I grabbed classes wherever I could. This is way before the internet, and read books and really worked hard to build my knowledge. And it was not long thereafter that I had the opportunity to begin working with a local holistic healer as an apprentice, sort of. And she was perfectly fine with me taking our, at that point in time, one baby to work with me, which was great. And so I helped her run her business. I sat in on appointments. I learned by watching. She would sometimes, say to me, you take the next client, I want to watch what you're doing. And we built from there. Well, that wasn't long before baby number 2 was on its way. And I thought, I can't take 2 babies to work. That's just insane. And so I resigned from my position with her, but she sent with me all, like a whole lot of clients, people that were interested in pregnancy and had young families, and she wasn't really interested in that, and I was, so she sent them over to me. And since then, I have not looked back. I have just constantly been studying and learning and building, and just when I think I know something, I learn something else, right? Isn't it wonderful how much there is to know? In all of these years, I've written several books as well. I've self-authored, that's redundant. I self-published and self-distributed them. Pregnancy Naturally, the Herbal Birth Kit Handbook, Healthy Kids Naturally, The Essential Guide to Nature's Sunshine Products, Biokinesiology and Color Therapy Level 1 and Level 2, and the Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology textbook. I've also created courses to go with many of those textbooks. Those textbooks were born out of a need of having organized material for students. I created and taught Herbology Level 1 and Level 2, and that was about how to use commercially prepared herbs for your family in home. At Level 2 was understanding the how herbal formulas are put together and how to understand the ingredients so that you can use it for more than just what the front of the label says it's good for. Designed and taught biokinesiology and color therapy level 1 and 2, was a certified prenatal educator for a few years through the International Childbirth Education Association. Loved that time. Still love doing prenatal work and fertility work, but I don't teach prenatal classes anymore. Also have become, in the last several years, designed and taught the course Dynamic Iridology Assessment System, which is an IPA approved course. So this is, IPA is the International Iridology Practitioners Association. As a certified instructor with them, all of my course material has to be approved by them, and I have to be teaching their curriculum outline. And so Dynamic Iridology Assessment System is the IPA curriculum. Alrighty, so that has introduced me. I do want to encourage you that if you are interested in learning more about iridology than what we're going to cover today, stay with me till the very end of our time today, because I will be giving you a very special invitation to get more information about the next course that is starting in June, the next course of Dynamic Iridology. And would love to have you join me for that. All right, so we are going to go back to our screen share. And no, that's not the screen I wanted. This is the one I wanted. And just mention briefly my credentials here. Over the years, with all of the courses I've taken, I have not only become an iridologist, we'll talk about that in a moment, but I've also become a nutrition coach, and I'm professionally affiliated with the Canadian Association of Holistic Nutrition Professionals and the Canadian Association of Natural Nutritional Professionals. I've also become a master herbalist, and these are all credentials that I've had for many, many years. And I'm a professional member of the Alberta Herbalists Association. I've studied nutrition in several different places, specifically 2 schools plus other places. I've studied herbology through several different places, and I've studied iridology. I think I counted once that I've had 8 different instructors in iridology. I am one of only 5 IPA level 3 certified iridology instructors in the world to date. And so that means that I can teach the level 1, level 2 core curriculum. That is the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System. And for students who certify at those levels, at that level, which is the certified iridologist level, they can continue on to become a level 3 certified iridologist by taking the level 3 course and passing the exam. I absolutely love teaching health professionals the art and science of iridology. And as importantly, I love teaching them how to integrate iridology into their consultation work, into what they're doing in their clinics, so that we can speed up their consultations, speed up their program creation time, and improve client compliance. So if you are a health professional or have completed a college level anatomy and physiology course, no matter what your other profession is, you know, if you do herbs or nutrition or you're a naturopath or whatever, stay with me to the end, because I do have a very special invitation for you specifically. And I love this, that we've got people from Florida with us. We've got people from all over the place. This is so good. I just need to grab this window. There we go. Okay, so you ready to do some eye work? Yeah. If you want to do some iridology work, give me an oh yeah in the comments box. All right, let me know that you are ready to look at some eyes and learn some iridology. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay, love it. Thank you. Thanks for that. I really appreciate this. So when we look at an eye, and for those of you on Instagram, I'm going to move my camera much closer so you get a better image here. There we go. That's better, right? All right. When we look at the eyes, one of the first things we're looking at is the fiber structure. How is this fiber sitting in the eye? And this eye overall shows very resilient patterns. There's a little bit of some markings in this area and way out here that suggest to us there might be some inherent predispositions towards a reduced resiliency in the digestion and in the surface blood and lymph circulation and in elimination through the skin. Okay, so the fiber structure is really nice. We've got predominantly straight fibers. We've got a high thread count per square inch. So that suggests that this person genetically was gifted a resilient body. What they've inherited from parents, grandparents, great-grandparents is a resilient body. Now that's exciting because it means that their body, when treated correctly, when given the right materials and support, will do a pretty good job of resisting disease or of healing after an impact. So that's great. What we need to remember is that even when we see eyes that have this strong resilient pattern, that we might see symptoms that don't actually match what we see in their eyes. And we'll be thinking, well, why do they have those symptoms? Their body, their eyes say they should be strong and resilient. Well, it's like this. A Rolls Royce can be driven into the ground if it's not cared for properly. And by the same token, a car of lesser quality can last many years if it's maintained appropriately. The same is absolutely true of people. A client may have been blessed with a genetically strong body and a resilient body, yet they figured they were tough and strong, and so they didn't take care. They did things that would amount to abuse for their bodies, and eventually even a strong body will give up, will break down, and not be able to handle what's going on anymore. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, give me a makes sense in the comments box. Let me know that that makes sense, that even if you're blessed with a strong body, you could end up with symptoms that don't match what your eyes say because you didn't treat your body right. Okay, well, let's look at the other side. So this iris has a fiber structure that is not as resilient. This iris suggests that this person didn't get quite the good stuff they were hoping for. Passed down through the generations, they've inherited some structural weaknesses and some predispositions towards some things not being quite as resilient and strong functioning as we would like them to be. However, this person often earns their own health rules very early on. They learn that if they don't get enough sleep, they don't feel good. They learn that if they junk out on their diet, they pay for it. They learn that if they get moderate exercise, they feel really good. They learn that if they drink enough water, they do really well. And so they've often learned at a very young age how to take better care of themselves. And so it's like if you've purchased a car that's let's go with a 2002 I don't know, Chevy whatever, and it's not a high-end car, but it's been really well maintained. The previous owners have not only taken care of the exterior, but they've done the tune-ups, they've done motor and engine repairs and brake repairs and all the other stuff. They've done all of this work to maintain this vehicle as it was warranted, almost preventively. And now you're buying it and that vehicle is 2 decades old, but it still runs so well and it's in perfect condition. So what we need to remember here is that irides show us predispositions. They do not give us guarantees, nor do they tell us what is going on in the body right now. Those ideas of being able to use the eyes like crystal balls, that's outdated and it's inaccurate. When clients come in with symptoms that don't match their irides, it's because they've either earned those symptoms, maybe through physical or emotional events, or it simply is because of those things. While the iridology is a blueprint of the body's inherent patterns, it does not account for the abuse that's dished out to the body. We might not even be looking at something as dramatic or as obvious as smoking. It might be something simpler like they weren't getting enough sleep or they've got a sedentary lifestyle, right? Iridology informs us as to the best ways to care for the body, the best food choices, the best lifestyle, the best supplements. When we understand the inherent tendencies and patterns in the body, we can do absolute miracles with people. In order to truly help people, iridologists need to have other modalities, right? We can't just know the eyes. We need to have herbology or nutrition or aromatherapy or body work or spinal alignment techniques. We've got to have something to support us in our work. So I want you to think about this from the perspective of you have a car and it's making a funny noise. And so you take it to the dealership or you take it to the car repair shop. Let's just call it a car repair shop. And the mechanic there calls you back after he's looked at it. He goes, yep, I know what the problem is. And you ask, well, how much will it cost to fix it? And he says, I don't know, because we don't repair cars here. We only diagnose the problem. We only assess the problem. You'll have to take it to Jim down the street. He knows how to fix things. As an iridologist who does not have a modality, you're like the mechanic who can't make the repair, can't make the suggestion. So it's really important that we make sure that as we are doing iridology, that we also learn modalities if we don't have those already. And Susan Crow says tongue and pulse analysis too. Absolutely. Brilliant ways to analyze the body. So let's look at some eyes here, because it's really important for us to remember that we cannot diagnose, we cannot prescribe. So I can't say to someone by looking at their eyes, you have diabetes, you have heart disease, you have psoriasis. We may see many indicators in their eyes, in their irides particularly, that suggest an increased inherent tendency towards something, an increased risk of something. But we don't get to diagnose. That is the realm of medical doctors. What we can do is ask questions. So we can, if we see certain markings, we can ask, is there a personal or family history of blood sugar disorders? And even if the client says he has blood sugar issues, we cannot call it diabetes. We cannot call it hypoglycemia. We can teach him about the markings we see. We can share with him what we're seeing and describe to him what it means. We can ask him about his diet if we've got the nutrition counseling end of things already in our toolkit. And then we can make suggestions, but we can never say he's got diabetes or hypoglycemia. We can talk about these dietary suggestions may help to, will help to balance your blood sugars. They will help to even out your energy, things like that. Because I'm a herbalist as well, I can also teach them about herbs that have been used historically in these kinds of situations. So do you hear what I'm doing here? I'm asking questions to understand my client. I'm correlating the questions to what I see in the eye. So client comes in with a symptom. I ask him questions. I take photos of his eyes. Then I correlate what he wants help with the answers to the first questions, with what I see in his eyes. And then I'm going to ask more questions and use all of this information I'm gathering to help me create a program for him. And all along, I'm never giving a disease name, and I'm never saying I'm going to cure you. All right, we talk about balance. We talk about increasing energy, improving energy. We talk about reducing symptoms perhaps, but we never say we can cure. We can also share studies that have been done about herbs or diet for the problem in question. I spend a lot of time online doing research to come up with links to studies that I can share. So I do a lot of work with infertility, And there's been a lot of work, a lot of controlled studies done on fertility and infertility. And so I can usually find a study that explains what I'm talking about, and I can then share that with my clients. So I'm not telling them that this supplement could help. I'm saying this is an interesting study, and I'd like to work with some of the information that's in it, right? It is a tremendous disservice, and it's potentially dangerous for the client and the iridologist to do an iris analysis on social media where there cannot be a real-time conversation. Have you seen iris analyses done on social media where people post pictures of their eyes, usually very bad pictures, and they just say, tell me what's wrong, or tell me what you see? If you've seen that, then I want to just raise your hand or tell me, put seen in the comments. And Margarita is saying, can you save the video? I can't, I'm not hearing it now, sorry. So Margarita, it will be on Instagram on my IGTV feed as well when we're done here. All right, so have you seen those analyses done on social media? If you have, let me know. As a practitioner, it's really important for us to remember that we need to have a conversation with our clients. Additionally, when we see these online analyses that are done, the person doing the analysis usually gives this great big long list of what they see and what's wrong. And sometimes they'll give an equally long list of what should be done about it. And so with that, where does it leave the client? It leaves them not knowing where to begin. It leaves them feeling overwhelmed. It leaves them cherry picking. Well, I can do that and I can do this, but they might not be doing things in the order that will give them the best result. They might not even understand how to do the thing completely. And so it really is a disservice. And so when we look at this and we find that these kinds of iris analyses happen mostly on the Facebook platform, right? I haven't seen any done where it's at the client's request on Instagram or on TikTok, but I have seen them many times on Facebook. So again, it's so important that we know how to create a protocol from what we see in the eyes and from our discussion with the client, so that we choose the right starting point and we build the program in steps that the client can actually follow. So let's look at this client that you see on the screen right now. All right, so these are the same eye. I'm going to move my camera closer for my Instagram followers. There we go. These are the same eye taken with different cameras and just over 20 years apart. The first one on the left was taken at age 42. The second was at age 65. So as we look at this, this is the first one we did. And here's the second one. Now, many of you, if I was to ask you what differences do you see, you would focus on the fact that the image on the right looks bluer. It looks clearer. The image on the left, some of you would describe as being a little bit murkier. It kind of has a bit more of a greenish tone to it. And if I asked you, why do you think that is, you would say, well, the person has obviously done some good cleansing and building work. And I'm going to say, wrong on all counts. This is a fellow, this is actually my husband, bless his heart. And what we see here is this first image was taken with a, not a digital camera, it was a film camera. It was an Olympus OM4T or something like that, many, many years ago. And I know it was the Olympus because I know what the flash looks like, the side flash looked like on that. So this was done on print film. This was done with a 24 megapixel digital camera with an LED flash. So the first flash is an incandescent flash. The second flash is an LED flash. So what we need to know is the color of the light changes the color of the photo. We also need to know that different cameras Even when you've set them for white balance, will shoot color slightly differently. My husband did not do any additional cleansing. He only simply got 23 years older, and we used different cameras. So now, as we look at this, can you see what else is different? Do you see that in the image on the right, he has the accumulation of some pigment here between about 31 minutes, and it actually continues very solidly to about 36 minutes, and it's a little bit faint all the way up to about 41 minutes. Can you see that pigment? This is very normal. So many people would say that any extra pigment in the eye is toxicity. It is not. This is inherited. This is what's been passed down through the generations. The color of the pigment tells us which organ wants to be out of balance. And the placement of the pigment tells us which organs are going to suffer because of it. All right. So the pigment hasn't changed. Again, the size, when the size of the pupil changes and it stretches the iris fibers out, it will make the pigment look more diffuse, less dense. So that's a tech thing as well. Brighter flash, smaller pupil, stretch the fibers out, spreads the fiber out over a bigger area, makes it look a little less intense. Kind of like, if you know what pantyhose are, for those of you who are my generation, you know, when you take them out of the package, they look pretty thick and heavy and dense. When you put them on and they're stretched, they look sheer. Same thing here. It is not uncommon to accumulate pigment with time. And so as we look at this, this is normal. It tells us which organ with age is genetically set to create some stresses in other parts of the body. So the pigment color tells us which organ has its programming set to become a little bit more stressed out. And the placement of the pigment tells us which organs will suffer the most because the first organ is out of balance. Okay. And so as we look at this again, this pigment is not going to go away. We cannot cleanse it out. Pigment accumulates, it does not disperse. All right, so for those of you who might have training from other iridologists, this might be a bit of a shocker to you. The idea that we do not cleanse pigment out, the idea that pigment only accumulates, it does not disperse, and the idea that your camera, your imaging equipment, can make the world of difference in how you see things. So important to know your imaging equipment. Here is a specific case study. This is a female client of mine. She was 44 years of age when we took these images. So we've got her right eye and her left eye. She weighed 200 pounds and she was gaining. She was 5 feet 10 inches tall, and her primary complaints were joint aches, weight gain, depression that is worse in the winter. I live north of the 49th parallel, and so does she. And we have something here called the winter blues, or seasonal affective disorder. And she was finding that her menstrual cycles, her periods, were becoming very, very painful. She didn't like any of that. So when we look at her eyes, we see that her fiber structure is such that she falls into what we call the connective tissue type. She is a lymphatic iris, which tells us she's prone to being over acid. She has a central heterochromia, which tells us that her, in this case, the color of it tells us her liver wants to run the show. Now, we also know, according to traditional Chinese medicine, that the liver has a strong role to play when it comes to depression and hormone balancing. We also see with this central heterochromia that we've got, it is bordered by some very dirty yellow, and we've got dirty yellow in other places as well. This suggests that her kidneys may want to have a bit of an issue. Oh, and look at this. We have a shoe lacuna. Shoe lacuna, in this case, is topolabile for kidney. So we know with the Shu lacuna that her kidneys want to be unbalanced, particularly her left kidney. And we know from the yellow pigment that her kidneys also want to be a little bit out of balance. And we know that the kidneys control the acid levels, which control inflammation, which controls the joints. In traditional Chinese medicine, we know they say that the kidneys control the knees, so the kidneys control the joints. We also know that when someone is inflamed, which with this kidney predisposition and with the joint issues, we know that there is systemic inflammation, and inflammation is always a part of weight gain. So I asked her about her digestion, and she said that there were no real problems, but her eyes suggest that her digestion is inherently one of her weak links. I asked her about her elimination, and she said that she has rabbit pellets. I asked her about her coffee consumption because, the liver does not like coffee. And so she was drinking 3 to 4 cups a day. And so regardless of what people say about coffee being good for you, it is not. It is hard on your stomach, on your thyroid, on your liver, on your adrenals, and it increases your acid levels and your inflammation. So in our first appointment, I suggested very simply eliminating the coffee and adding some collagen, some digestive enzymes, and increasing her leafy greens. So we're really focusing on how do we take the stress off her liver so her liver can do its detoxification more effectively, can balance her hormones more effectively. And when the liver does its detoxifying and it throws the metabolic debris back into blood, it does that so the kidneys can remove it. Well, her kidneys were already not happy. We knew that from her knees, from her joints. And so by supporting the liver, we also indirectly support the kidneys. Did that make sense? If that makes sense, give me kidneys in the comments box. In her second appointment, she had been really good with following all those recommendations. And I'm waiting to see kidneys in a comments box somewhere to make sure that that made sense for you. In her second appointment, she had been doing all those recommendations, and she found her second appointment was about a month later. Her joints were improving, her periods were better, her period was better, and she also found that her depression was a little bit better. So now we could take it one level deeper. Thank you, Susan, for letting me know that that made sense and giving me the word kidney. So I asked her about her water intake. She said she was doing about 3 glasses per day, which is not enough for someone who weighs nearly 200 pounds. I asked her about her sleep because the liver is also the seat of insomnia. Thank you, Desjardins. Thank you for that, for saying kidneys. And so she said her sleep is broken. So I suggested that what we need to do is get protein at every meal, especially to focus on the vegetable proteins. And I suggested that she might want to talk to her medical doctor about an SAD lamp to do some light therapy for the depression. I also suggested walking 30 minutes a day at a gentle pace and increasing her water to 6 glasses a day. So again, we focused on her proteins and got her to drink more water, got her to start walking, just walking gently every day, and asked her doctor about light therapy. About a month later, she came back and she had been to her doctor, and he agreed that light therapy would be very good, very safe to do at home. So he gave her a prescription for a lamp, and she was loving it. She was feeling that it just energized her. When she would do her lamp first thing in the morning, she said it was better than drinking coffee. Great energy. Her water intake was up. Her protein intake was up. But she was struggling to get her walks in every day. And so we worked with her some more on that. So did you see how that worked? By looking at various markings and connecting them, not looking at an individual marking, but looking at markings together, we were able to understand how her body works. And by understanding how her body works, we were able then to go into the diet and the supplements and the lifestyle to create a program. That is the beauty of iridology. Let's look at one more case. This is a young man, 24 years of age. And as we look at his eyes, he's Filipino. He's got really good structure. Now, with the darker eyes, we often don't see all the fiber under that. And Avenues Health is saying, actually, she can't believe a medical doctor would agree about light therapy. Well, the interesting thing here, Avenues Health, is that SAD is a recognized condition here. Doctors treat it all the time. And they use light therapy at the hospital in the outpatient clinic for seasonal affective disorder. So when a medical patient asks their doctor for light therapy, it's so harmless and it's so effective and it's so cost effective. Like for $250 or $300, you've got a lamp that's going to last you 5 years and it's not going to damage your kidneys or your liver. Doctors will readily go with light therapy because it is a recognized medical therapy that is done in our hospitals here on an outpatient basis. So yeah, very cool that they do go with that. They might not go with some of the other things we suggest, but the light therapy they'll usually go for. So back to this young man that's on our screen. Again, with the darker eyes, we often don't see as much of the fiber detail, the structural detail. What we can see, we like, he has good structure. He does have a lot of contraction furrows, and these do suggest that he probably burns through his B vitamins and vitamin C and calcium and magnesium very, very quickly. Also can suggest that he may be a little more prone to anxiety and depression. Not a guarantee of that, but it certainly is no surprise when we see contraction furrows in a client who suffers with anxiety and depression. I want you to also pay attention. Remember, he's only 24. Look at how we have this milkiness forming at the edge of his eye, the edge of the iris. This is the start of a corneal annulus, which suggests that the liver enzymes may not be well balanced to handle carbohydrates, and it may be leading to an unbalanced lipid profile for him or unbalanced blood sugars. And so what we need to remember is that type 2 diabetes and elevated cholesterol are Bobbsey twins. They happen together. They always happen together. You pretty much cannot have T2D and have normal cholesterol. It just does not happen because the liver plays a significant role in both of those. His eyes are in general very bloodshot, which again suggests overall inflammation throughout his body. So we want to ask him about inflammation. We cannot tell him he has these things we're going to ask him about, but I will often say, has anyone ever diagnosed you with stress or anxiety? Has anyone ever suggested that your liver might not be happy? Has anyone ever suggested that you have such and such? Has a doctor ever diagnosed you with such and such? So I'm not doing the diagnosing. I'm asked if somebody else has diagnosed him with this. Okay. I would definitely ask him about his liver, and there's many, many things we can ask that will tell us about his liver. I would ask him about his diet, and I would ask him about his circulation. He's overweight by about 40 pounds. He does have a history of depression, anxiety, and gout. And so we see with the gout, systemic inflammation that goes hand in hand with being overweight. He had a very poor family life growing up, lots of emotional abuse that actually still continues to this day, even though he's an adult. He has, many of his aunts and uncles have passed away in their 60s due to cardiovascular issues. Okay, so what we've seen with him, what I know about him, when he's good, he's very good. He can work out regularly. He's gone through like months on end where he's cut out drinking soda and he started drinking water instead. And when he does that, he can lose 10 pounds in a month. And he gets to be more calm and the gout calms down. When he's upset, when he's bothered by something, he hits the sugar, he hits the soda, he stops working out, he develops insomnia, or he sleeps all the time and the gout returns. So ideally, we would want him to be on something that would be an adaptogen, so ashwagandha or cordyceps. I would want him to be on a methylated B vitamin because his liver may not be handling B vitamins very well. I would also want him to be on something like milk thistle for his liver. I would want him to work out 3 to 4 times per week for about 30 minutes. Now, it's really important that we remember that we cannot do a good job of doing everything at once. So my first concern with him is really that I want to get his diet on track to reduce the inflammation, and that will also help him to lose weight. I don't want him going and pumping heavy weights at the gym just yet. I want him going and just doing moderate workouts, right? And I don't want him doing any cardio per se just yet. I do want him drinking water, and I want him eating more leafy green vegetables. All right, so with all of that, did you hear me diagnose a disease? I want to see a yes or a no, a yes or a no. No, didn't diagnose anything. Did I give the client valuable information for what he could do? Did we talk about diet? Yeah. And supplements? Yeah, absolutely. And lifestyle? Yeah, absolutely. Did I promise him a result? No, because we can't. We can't promise results. Even doctors can't promise results. But I can say things like, as we get the inflammation under control by doing diet corrections and lifestyle corrections, we should see the weight will start to come off. We should see inflammation reducing. We should see mental health balancing out. But we would never say you will see. Okay, so very, very important. So iridologists cannot diagnose or prescribe. And I'm hoping that that's what you've taken away from our time today, is that we cannot diagnose, we cannot prescribe. Too many iridologists are using the old and disproven styles of iridology. And I know what they are because that's how I was first trained. When I first learned iridology 4 decades ago, I was taught to diagnose and prescribe. I'm so glad I didn't get into trouble for that. And I'm so glad that I learned the constitutional style, which teaches more about investigation and understanding. So, so important for us. And it is this style of iridology, constitutional, that we teach in the dynamic iridology assessment system. This is the only live, online, fully mentored class for nutritionists, herbalists, naturopaths, healthcare providers who want to streamline their clinical work without sacrificing client care. I find that a lot of practitioners spend their own time creating client programs, which is not good for your clients actually. Because when you do that, if you spend like 4 hours creating a program or even 2 hours, you've put too much information into it for your client to handle in one go. And so by not creating your programs on your own time, by creating your programs in your client sessions, you will stop overwhelming your clients. They will be able to adhere to your recommendations more easily, which will increase their compliance, which increases their success. And because they are getting results, they're getting those incremental, those tiny incremental results that you've said they would get, that you've said, if we do this, we should see this. They want to keep coming back to find out what is the next step. What is the next step? Desjardins says it is easier not to diagnose, only to suggest and ask questions. It is so much easier. And Susan says, we are not the healers, we are the teachers who help those to acknowledge their true power, which comes from within. Absolutely, absolutely. So if you want to learn how to do iridology this way, if you want to learn more than just one marker means one problem, but if you want to learn what you saw me do, where we can combine markers to get a deeper understanding of what is likely going on, then I'm going to encourage you to stay with me for a bit here. going to share with you a little bit about what is in my course and then teach you how you can get more information. The Dynamic Iridology Assessment System is a course that is taught in 20 live 2.25 long webinars. We meet once a week to teach this, and each class session is recorded for playback on demand. So if you have to miss a class, no big deal, you can catch the recording. We have a live mentoring group that meets twice each month via webinar, and this is extra support for you. You can learn the theory in the classes, absolutely, but for extra practice to get extra questions dealt with, if you're working with a client and you would like help understanding what you're seeing, that's what we do in the office hours. You bring your questions, you bring your cases, and we talk about them. We answer questions in the live classes as well, but if it's between classes, or if you've got specific questions about a specific client you're working with, bring that to office hours so that we can help you with that. We have a student and alumni, oops, it's not on Facebook anymore, now it's on MeWe, a student and alumni social media group where we speak very freely. I share really broad information that Facebook will censors, and that's why we've moved it to the MeWe platform. This is only for my registered students and my alumni, so students who have completed the course. The course includes a 225-page digital textbook, so you don't even buy a textbook. I've kept this textbook digital because periodically IPA changes the curriculum a little bit. They'll add a piece, usually they add a piece. And if I've done a hard copy textbook and charged you $300 for it, now that textbook is out of date. By keeping the book digital, when I update it, my students get access to the latest version. My graduates get access to the newest version as well. So you always have an up-to-date reference. We have 45 pages of digital study notes. We call these the cheat sheets. This is the entire curriculum in charts and tables so that you've got a quick reference tool when you're working with your clients. I include in my course for students who want to certify with IPA, I include the one-on-one mentoring that IPA requires. So you don't pay extra. Most teachers charge extra for that special one-on-one mentoring. I include it. I also include case studies. IPA requires that you do a minimum of 10 case studies. Many students don't have the equipment to properly get good eye photos. So I provide you with a selection of about 15 cases that you can choose from in order to meet the case study requirements. Every case study you do, I mark one-on-one specifically for you. And when we've completed your case studies, we actually meet one-on-one to discuss them. There's a lot of one-on-one mentoring time. This is what one of my students said. This is Chris Meyer. She is a holistic health coach. I asked her, why did you take my class? I wanted to improve my offerings as a health coach. I did not have a foundational framework for building individual programs based on each client's unique need. Constitutional iridology was that missing link, and you consistently reinforced that foundation. Love that. Graziella Alexandrova is a natural nutrition clinical practitioner. She might even have RHN as her official credentials. I asked her why she'd taken it, and she said, I've taken an iridology course with another instructor, but Judith's course, Dynamic Iridology, surpasses it in knowledge delivery and supported documentation. It is one thing to have a profound knowledge, and yet another to have the ability to express it clearly to teach others. Judith Cobb teaches in a manner that students can understand, believe, and trust the information. She's both knowledgeable and a skillful instructor. It was a pleasure and an honor to be a Judith student and to be exposed to the most advanced techniques of client assessment utilizing constitutional iridology. Thank you, Judith, for sharing your extensive knowledge with us. We certainly do go beyond just the eyes when we are doing this course, because I teach you how to ask the questions. I teach you how to integrate what you already know about nutrition, about herbology, because those are my fortes as well. And if you've got other modalities, then I can help you learn how to integrate those too. If you are a herbalist, a nutrition coach, a holistic health practitioner, a naturopath, a registered nurse, a medical doctor who wants to go more holistic, I encourage you and invite you to book a call with me for us to talk about where you're at, what you envision for your business, where you want it to go, and for us to just make sure that this course is the right fit for you. This is not a course to or a call to sell you on anything. If it is the good fit, I will invite you to register. I'll invite you to enroll. If it's not a good fit, I'll give you direction as to what you should do next to prepare to join me in the dynamic iridology course. So for those of you who are with me on the live webinar, I am going to copy and paste this URL into your chat box. There you go. For those of you who are with me on Instagram or on Facebook, you can see that link on your screen. Again, this has been this course, and what we've done today is all about helping you to become the best iridologist possible. Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope to have you in a course very soon. Avenue says, I want to maybe start practicing reflexology. Excellent. So you will need to find a good reflexology teacher then, won't you? And again, she says, right on. Again, good to see that you've got some training. I look forward to hearing from you soon. And if you are ready to schedule that call to see if this course is good for you, is right for you, go ahead and do that. I look forward to talking with you in the near future and seeing you in the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System for Health Professionals Facebook group. Have a great day and talk to you soon. Bye for now.